Hare Krishna. Thank you very much once again for joining us on the day 3 of this series on the art of resilience. Very happy to again have all of you back. Wonderful questions, and we look forward to trying to answer some of these questions as we proceed in this journey. One of the first questions which I would like to address is, why do you wear a tilak? So naturally, in India, you must have seen different types of forms of tilak. In the Mahabharata, it is said, Ahar Nidra Bhayamaithunam cha samana etat pashubhir naranam. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, these are tendencies of different species of life. What distinguishes human body from the other body is dharmo hi tesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubhis samana. All the other species have only the opportunity to seek pleasure, but human beings can seek purpose. And therefore, to distinguish the human body and actually credit it as being a temple of God, something very special, then we mark this with a tilak, signifying that this body, this human body, which is a very, very rare human body, durlabho manabo dehu, dehinam kshanabhangura tatrapi durlabham manye, Vaikuntha Priyadarshanam. This is therefore the mark signifying that the human body is like a temple, and the purpose of life is for the soul to seek out how to connect and serve the Supreme in different ways. Another question which was asked is, what is the significance of Ekadashi? So in the Puranas, it is described that once Lord Vishnu was asleep, and then from his breath came out a goddess, and she saw a demon was about to kill and attack Lord Vishnu, and she immediately pounced upon that demon and killed him. Lord Vishnu got up and looked at her and said, "You are very special because before even me telling you and instructing you, you understood what is my heart and did the needful." And because she was born on the 11th day of the waxing moon, so he called her the Ekadashi Devi. And so he also gave the benediction that anyone who follows this vrata on the 11th day of the waxing and the waning moon would get the qualities of Ekadashi Devi, of being an Ekatma Sevak. Ekatma Sevak means that servant, that personality who's so loyal to the master that even before the master gives any instruction, he understands the heart of the master. So one who is in sync with the master's desire, intention, and heart, and therefore, by performing this Ekadashi Vrata, one's quality of being a servant and being free from the influence of the false ego enhances significantly. Ram Singulguri on Instagram asks this question: how to deal with low energy emotions like sadness, grief, and loneliness? Very beautiful question, Ram. This is core to building resilience. It's the fulcrum of all in chapter 32 of the Art of Resilience book. I have specifically mentioned about this quality in chapter number 32, and that is cheating through profit, and discussing about the human quality of mindfulness. And this is extremely important. And in this section, basically what I have referred to is that the three modes of nature, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, they influence all of us. And under the influence of the modes, we experience the change in the different moods. Sattva Guna, mode of goodness, has the quality to elevate you, increase your awareness, create satisfaction, helps you organize. Rajoguna means you will just be impelled into activity and just do it, and maybe discrimination may not be so high. And Tamoguna means slumber, carelessness, lethargy, self-harm, just to be engaged in daydreaming. And therefore, it's very important for us to understand, and we will discuss this more in our further questions about how particular spaces and the design which those spaces have an effect and influence on our uh, modes and hence our moods. So more about that later, specifically about programming our environment. And the idea is that we have control over how we can transform and change our environment, and that environment in turn affects us. So it's a very beautiful point that the saddest aspect of life, as Isaac Asimov, a very famous science writer, has spoken, that the saddest aspect of life is that science is gathering knowledge faster than society is able to gather wisdom. Yes, that's true. Science is gathering a lot of knowledge at such a high speed. And I'm sure all of you who are connected online, and thank you again for joining us on time and with so much of enthusiasm and just reciprocating with so many beautiful, amazing, heartfelt questions. And you can understand with a society filled with gadgets and at high speed internet, it takes time for society to gather wisdom. And therefore, the worst part of holding the memories is not the pain, says Leo Tolstoy, says Lois Lowry, but it's actually the loneliness of it. Memories need to be shared, and so this gadgets culture is creating more and more tendency to be lonely. The conditioned soul, under the influence of false ego, loves to be the controller, the proprietor, and the enjoyer. And believe me, friends, we should introspect for a moment and consider this. It seems it is easier to control gadgets than it is to control people. And so people tend to spend more time with the gadgets than with other people. And this results in long periods of time away from other people. It creates loneliness and it creates all kinds of pain and suffering. So, pain and suffering are inevitable for a large intelligence and a deep heart. The great men must have sadness when they see the state of the earth. And therefore, we should realize that yes, the world is a place of suffering and misery. And by seeing the suffering around, we can go through episodes of experiencing some kind of depression. In United States, almost 6.7% of the adults or 16.2 million adults have at least one major depressive episode in 1 year. Can you believe this? And according to 2020 reports coming from Looking Further with Four Trends, nearly half of the adults worldwide, which is almost 45%, just meditate on this figure. 45% of the adults across the world say that they feel lonely on a regular basis. And the Gen Zs fall in a larger category of almost 62%. And so it is very important for us to realize that we have to carefully look at all aspects of our life. And if we do not plan a healthy harmony and balance, it's very easy to go off the rails. And I'm so glad that many of you are really thinking about this. And that's the reason you're logging in, asking so many beautiful questions. One from Damini Rangavani on Instagram: how to stop from reacting when angry? Beautiful question, Damini, because anger management is at the core of mind control. Extremely important to build resilience. In chapter 31 of the Art of Resilience book, this particular issue is discussed in a chapter which I call as Provocations and Self Control. And the human quality which I'm addressing here is self control. Very important. And Actually, this self control is so important that without this self control, we will be controlled by forces around. What is the definition of anger? It's a spontaneous emotion when injustice due to things out of control happen. It seems to be a justified reaction, but the actions are often undesirable. What is the consequence? We hurt people, we hurt ourselves. And what's the wrong solution? To just be passive amidst injustice, or to display artificial repression. This is very important. We should not succumb to artificial repression. What's the correct solution? Use the intelligence, focus on the problem and the solution rather than on the cause of the problem and its faults. Address the problem productively, deal with the culprit constructively. Yes, anger is possible to be controlled. So, how do you tolerate the forces of anger? Consider the mind to be like a muscle, and if you have to toughen your mental muscle, then you have to increase tolerance, which in Sanskrit is known as titiksha. And therefore, what are the various steps you can do to increase the muscle of tolerance? First, warm up, just as in a typical workout. And what does warm up in the context of tolerance mean? Accept the reality as it is, not what we would like it to be. Keep small things small. Don't jump into vigorous emotional outbursts over small things. Today, we have a humongous number of people highly educated but highly emotional and highly irrational. And we find that so many domestic conflicts and conflicts amongst friends erupt not because of lack of knowledge or education, but because of lack of self control over anger. Second, focus on getting stronger. Regularly stretch your intelligence. Shift your focus from the faculty of the emotion or the mind to the faculty of the reason or the intelligence. Step three, progressively overload. Gradually increase the weight of patience in various kinds of difficult and pressing situations. Then, step four, your efforts must be consistent. The tolerance game is a gradual process. Enjoy the ride and look for the small gains over time. And then repetition and breaks. You are aware that during training, one of the biggest anxieties which the coach has, that the athlete should not get injured. So therefore, you need access to the spiritual energy. Reflect on the goodwill present of our supreme coach, the supreme lord. Recover from unfortunate lapses and continue your inner workout routines. Last but not the least, there is no way we can grow our muscle power without the proper nutrition. What is that nutrition? The regular diet of spiritual wisdom. Get rid of unhealthy emotional weight, meditation, and study of scriptural knowledge is a far tastier and healthier replacement to so much of compared to so much of feel good junk food of unhealthy emotions. And so I would like to share with you a beautiful quote from the Bhagavatam. Srinavata Shraddhaya Nityam Grinatascha Swacheshtitam Kalena Nati Dirghena Bhagavan Vrishate Hriti. So come in contact with this spiritual wisdom, scriptural wisdom, and take a small bit every single day. And I'm so glad that you are coming every evening and trying to connect with some bits of wisdom which we are trying to share. Aristotle says, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that needs tremendous wisdom. Dear friends, anger is like a wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. Anger is like an acid that destroys the very container in which it is kept. Anger begins with folly, ends with repentance. And dear friends, anger is one letter short of danger. And therefore, as per various reports, 1 in 5 people, which is almost 20%, they say that they have ended a relationship or friendship with someone because of their misbehavior created due to anger. And this is a boiling point report by Mental Health Organization. So dear friends, please know that we are responsible for our emotions and we need to increase and enhance our tolerance. Come on, how many of you attending this evening would like to enhance the level of your tolerance? And please do share some of your further questions about how to enhance and increase your tolerance. And if anything of this explanation is not so clear, we'll be happy to share with you some of our tips and would be happy to hear from you some of your stories of how you regretted being angry and how you felt when you found the repercussions to be so negative. And as per an IBM Watson Health Poll report, 84% of Americans, they are angrier today compared to a generation ago. So therefore, as we are dealing with this COVID pandemic, please also know that as internet has grown global and as online access has become more and more easily available, we are also dealing with another very important pandemic, the pandemic of angry outbursts. That anger which is being manifested online also, and people are unable to control those emotions. So, this brings me to the next question from Milan on Instagram: how to control emotions and how to manage emotions. Another question from Prerna Rajpal on Instagram: how to stay calm when we are angry or in fear sometimes. Yashika on Instagram: how to calm your mind if something wrong happens, how to focus in chanting when the mess is going on in the mind. And Varun Oja on Instagram says, Guruji, how to be calm in every situation, how to fix uncertainty. So, excellent set of questions. Thank you so much. Fantastic, insight on how you're really looking at transforming yourselves. I now take the liberty to go to chapter 7 in this book, and the chapter 7 is called The Tree and the Carpenter Team. And the human quality I refer to is maturity. So, in this Tree and the Carpenter Team, I have the story of someone who's a carpenter who has a very stressful life, but somehow he has created a specific ritual for himself every day, how he copes with the stresses, so that in spite of stresses in the job, in the family, financially, somehow he's able to cope with it and deal with it on the basis of maturity. And therefore, I mention specifically the concept of cultivating maturity in life, because maturity in relationships and decision making is a combination of three things. Maturity in relationships and decision making is a combination of three things. First, Sukriti, which is noble action. Second, Kripa, which is God's grace. And third is Vivek or discrimination, which is very, very important. So, therefore, you have to be able to express your feelings and convictions with courage, and this balanced with consideration for others' feelings and convictions is what we call as maturity. And as Aristotle says, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. So you don't have to react and respond to every situation irrationally. Speak to give people peace of mind and not a piece of your mind. And the greatest danger in the human form of life is not only the destruction of the body, but the distraction of the mind. Yes, we are all worried about destruction of the body, but do we realize that if we do not make special efforts, we are all experiencing distraction of the mind? Let's focus on that too and how to fix that. People want to be happy in life. How many of you attending this evening feel that happiness is one of your goals? Please share your experiences. Please share your thoughts on this. If yes, then in the 2019 World Happiness Report, it is said that negative feelings are rising around the world, and there is an epidemic of addictions which is growing. And one of the top addictions, which is growing at a faster rate than all the others, is the addiction to technology and gadgets. And therefore, negative feelings, if calculated from 2010 to 2018 period. And what are some of these negative feelings? Worry, sadness, anger. And for your information, what I call as the three cancers of the mind: comparing, complaining, and criticizing. Come on again. Comparing, complaining, and criticizing, the three cancers of the mind, have been rising around the world up to 27% in the 8 year period between 2010 to 2018. Therefore, some of these thoughts I wanted to share with you. Atul Datkhile on Instagram, he is asking this question: how to stop and remove negative bad thought from the mind? And Ratul Das on Instagram says, how can a yogi remain silent in a difficult situation? Okay, so dear friends, please know that difficult situations in life can be seen as a springboard, as an opportunity. And, you know, let me go briefly to chapter 6, which is known as the faith in the supreme well-wisher and the human quality of faith. And this is from page number 31. Ripudaman Dalbehera, a commander in the king's army, was a quiet giant. His huge physique would silence others. He was returning home to his village with his new wife, Nivedita Mahapatra. They were crossing the river in a boat. A great storm arose and started to violently shake their boat. An army man, Ripudaman, was not fearful of the situation, but Nivedita trembled. The storm intensified. Ripudaman continued sitting quietly, calm. Nivedita was losing her composure. She screamed at her husband, "We are going to die. Are you not afraid? This may be the last day of our lives." Ripudaman looked at her wife calmly. She again said, "We are caught in the eye of the storm. Only a miracle can save us. Death is certain." Ripudaman looked around and saw that the whirlwind was coming at a distance. Nivedita was hysterical. She shouted, "Why are you acting so indifferently to this calamity? Have you gone deaf? Are you stuck dumb out of fear? Tell me, we are going to die, we are going to die, we are going to die." Holding his wife's hand so securely, Ripudaman ready to speak. Then, suddenly, out of the blue, Ripudaman takes out his sword. And then, this makes Nivedita even more puzzled. "What are you trying to do?" And he brings the sword close to Nivedita's neck, almost touching it. And Ripu asked her, "Are you afraid of my sword at your neck?" She responded honestly, "I'm not afraid of this sword as long as you are holding it. I know how much you love me." Ripudaman interjected. "The same is my answer to this defenseless situation. I know God loves us, and this raging storm is ultimately in His hands. I would do whatever is possible to protect you. I will not leave your hand, come what may. But I also realize there is not much either of us can do right now. Whatsoever is going to happen is going to be the will of God. Not a blade of grass moves without God's approval. If we survive, it will be God's grace. If we don't, I'm equally accepting it as the will of providence." So, this is a very, very important state of consciousness which we need to appreciate. How do we deal with situations in life? So I have, referred to some of these important things which I'll share with you in very brief. First is accept. Acceptance of inevitable distress helps. Distress is inevitable. Second, avoid. Avoid what? Avoid trouble by speaking up or planning and doing something before you know what is what. So be wise and check before you speak, plan, or do. Very important. Third, adjust to the unavoidable circumstances and situations. Better to bend than to break. As you know, life keeps throwing surprises at us, and life is not a win or a lose competition. Come on, dear friends, all of you are very, very intelligent. Don't compromise your intelligence, but compromise using your intelligence. What's that? Don't compromise your intelligence, but compromise using your intelligence. And next, amend. Relook at the situation from different perspectives. Things may not be as bad as your mind is perceiving. And then finally, you can transcend using the spiritual wisdom to elevate your consciousness. So, work becomes overload when negativity loads our mind. And so, information may make our mind fat, but the application of spiritual wisdom, it makes our mind fit. So therefore, the Bhagavad Gita has been spoken by Krishna to Arjuna to make Arjuna mentally fit, not mentally fat. And so, out of sight is out of mind, provided the mind is out of it. Okay, if you are simply away from some object or some circumstances, because many people, when they go through difficulty, they think, let me travel a long distance so that I can forget the situation. Let me just spend some time in some addiction so that in due course of time I forget it. But that's not the solution. 83% of workers in US suffer from work related stress. US businesses lose up to $300 billion annually as a result of workplace stress. And these are facts and figures. Stress causes around 1 million workers to miss work every single day. Almost out of 43%, only 43% of employees in US think that their employers care about their work-life balance. This is a fact because many people just think they want me to work hard so that the company makes profit and no one cares about my work-life balance. And many times people, without having a proper life purpose and without having the tools to cope up with their ongoing stress, they sink into depression, and depression leads to almost $51 billion in costs in terms of what? Absenteeism. And in $26 billion cost due to what? Treatments. And so let us not take mental health cheaply. And please also know that work related stress causes 120,000 deaths. How many? 120,000 deaths annually and result in almost $190 billion in healthcare costs every year. So, therefore, yes, we speak a lot about physical health, but dear friends, the purpose of writing this book, The Art of Resilience, is to share through small stories the very crucial importance of improving and increasing our mental health, which is at the very focus of the message of the Bhagavad Gita. I hope this helps. Thanks to Mayank Khandelwal or Instagram for asking a question. Sir, something about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. So, it's a mental illness And as you know that it is filled with obsessions, when you have repeated unwanted thoughts, unwanted sensations which keep coming again and again, and you have an urge to do something over and over again. So this obsession and compulsion together is an influence of the mode of passion, rajogun, and it remains obstinate in accomplishing a certain approach to action. And therefore, this leads to anger and stress when unchecked. And as we will come to our next question, we will try to give some solution to how we can deal with this. Let me come to the next question, which is that from Shubham Chauhan or Instagram: how to control our mind, how to focus the mind on positive things without deviation, from Madheswaran Krishnamurti on Facebook. Sanjeev on Instagram asks a similar question. Thank you, Sanjeev, for asking this. हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, बुरे कर्म बार बार याद आते हैं और बहुत बुरा लगता है, उस कर्म की सजा बार बार डराती है, उस पाप का प्रायश्चित कैसे हो सकता है? एक रास्ता बताइए, अपने बुरे कर्मों को कैसे याद रखना चाहिए. Kedar on Instagram: how to stop mind's chatter during meditation and how do we silence our mind in any situation? So, thank you very much for asking these beautiful questions on control of the mind. Yes, all of us have assembled this evening to understand more about the mind. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhirevacha ahankar itiyam me bhinna prakritirashtava. Krishna describes the eight elements includes earth, water, fire, air, ether, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. So mind is part of our subtle body. And therefore, in the art of resilience, I share some insight in chapter number 3, and I call this an empty boat, and the human quality is mind control. And this basically is a story of, you know, someone who goes to actually do some meditation in a monastery. And when he goes there in a monastery, then he is not very happy and he feels that there is too much of disturbance there. And he decides, let me go away from here and be in solitude. And so, thinking like that, he goes to a very solitary place where no one is around. So, again, he had gone to a monastery seeking improvement in his mind control, but he felt disturbed by the other monks. And then, so he leaves that and goes to a solitary place. And then he thinks that, okay, I am finally in a solitary place. And then he sees a boat. He takes a boat and goes right in the middle of a lake and thinks, meditation, he suddenly experienced a strong jerk. All of his meditative focus immediately left. In great anger, his instant thoughts were, good Lord, I came all the way to this quiet lake. Who is disturbing me here? Naturally, because if there is a jerk in a boat and you are sitting right in the middle of a lake, you may assume someone is disturbing me. As he opened his eyes and looked around, he found nobody there, but still there was a disturbance. What was that? I won't share it. You go through it yourself and find out the remaining part of the story, but I'll definitely help you understand the workings of the mind. So, why to be careful with the mind? First, the mind has the tendency to sedate us. It sedates us from our responsibility. It makes Doable things appear difficult and useless things appear important. Come again. The mind makes simple things appear difficult and useless things appear very, very important. So that's the sedation aspect of the mind. Then the mind seduces us, it attracts us and forces us to do something unwanted, regrettable. And third is then once the overindulgence is over and we actually fall away, we actually indulge. And once that indulgence is over, the same mind will scold us. Why did you act so stupidly? And therefore, dear friends, the mind needs to be controlled. And so Arjuna asks this question to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Very important shloka of the Gita. Chanchalam he mana Krishna pramati balavadridam yasyaham nigraham manye vayor eva sudushkaram. Arjuna says the mind has so many characteristics. Chanchalam, fickle, pramati, maddened, balavat, strong, dridham, obstinate. How can I control this mind? And according to the National Science Foundation, an average person in a 24 hours has approximately 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. That's not all. 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day each one of us go through. But the biggest challenge is 80% of those thoughts are negative and 95% are repetitive thoughts. 80% negative and 95% are actually repetitive. So, our lack of confidence does not affect us so much. But when we become overconfident about our mind, that affects us even more. Happiness is not in just acquiring, but happiness is in internally realizing who we are. So let's now come to the solution part. How do we control a distracted mind? Yes. How many of you, hearing today's discussion are interested to really know, understand, and apply the principles of focus? Because this has been a repeated question from many people, and some others may also be thinking of asking in future. So please tune in very carefully to hear some of the solutions which I am sharing with you. So what is focus? So please understand that focus is the act of concentrating your interest or activity on something. Now, focus can only occur when we have said yes to one option and we say no to another option, which means that elimination is a prerequisite to focus. So, if you are reading something, so that is one option which you have taken. You cannot simultaneously be watching a cricket match online. So you may be able to do two things, but you are not able to focus on both the things. So therefore, focus doesn't require a permanent no, but it does require a present no. That means when the mind pulls you, do this, at the present you have to say no to that mind. And you always have the option to do something else much later. But dear friends, please remember that in the present moment, focus requires you to do only one thing. And so, focus is going to be the key of productivity, because saying no to every other option, it unlocks our ability to accomplish whatever we want to achieve. Now, the question arises, why is focusing so difficult? Right? How many of you feel that focusing is difficult? Well, the distractions need to be eliminated. And again, I ask each one of you that, especially when you are dealing with deadlines, you must have observed that somehow you're able to focus better. Is it not? Why is that? Because deadlines decide determined focused. Come again. Remember these 3 Ds: deadlines, decide, determination. And therefore, it's very important that doing 2 tasks is not the same as concentrating on 2 tasks. And when you are switching cost, there is a disruption in performance. And this disruption, which happens, is extremely detrimental. And it is observed that when someone switches to seeing and checking email once every 5 minutes, they lose 64 seconds to recover back and come back to the original task which they must have been doing. So now let's come to the real issue: how to focus, how to increase attention span. Okay, let me ask all of you, how many of you want to increase your focus, and how many of you want to increase your attention span? Right? So these are some of the tips which I want to share with you. First, measure results. That means either if you're chanting in mantra meditation, then you measure, today I chanted 1 round. If you're doing push-ups, okay, I did 5 push-ups. You're running, okay, I ran 1 kilometer. So many times people are afraid of measuring, but this measurement is not a judgment of who you are, but it is a feedback on where you are. Come again. This measurement is not a judgment of who you are. So do not be nervous of measuring. It is a feedback on where you are. And only when you measure, you can improve. So, first is measure. Second, focus on the process and not the event. Many times people feel, I want to be a published author. I want to be a billionaire. I want to be in shape. I want to have a six pack. I want to be like this, like that. But if you want to be a writer, focus on writing. If you want to be an entrepreneur, learn the basics of marketing. If you want to be, high end on fitness, then you begin exercising every day. If you want to become significantly better at everything, at something or anything, then you have to fall in love with the process of doing it, and you have to build an identity connected to that. We have the example of Arjuna. Dronacharya had specifically said, never ever give Arjuna, a food in the dark. And one day Arjuna was given food in the dark, and Arjuna continued eating. And Arjuna said, oh, I'm able to eat in the dark. If I can eat in the dark, why can't I practice in the dark? And Arjuna started practicing all day and all night also. And therefore, one of the names of Arjuna is Gudakesha. Therefore, focusing on goals and outcomes is our natural tendency, but focusing on processes leads to more results in the long run. Then third element is, design your environment, which will affect the outcome. And there are studies which have shown that, the way North America, South America, and Africa is designed, and the way they are designed vertically, if you see the shape, and Europe and Asia are designed horizontally. As a result, it was easier to do agriculture in Asia and Europe because of the horizontal shape, because the weather doesn't change across so much, because almost everything is in the similar latitudes. So as a result, production in agriculture grew. As a result, prosperity grew. As a result, power grew. And therefore, the environment has a major effect. And according to a group of researchers in Harvard, they said that if you want to lose weight, all you have to do is, if you choose a 10-inch plate instead of a 12-inch plate, just decrease your plate size by 2 inches, you would eat 22% less food over the course of 1 year. And if you consider an average dinner to be 800 calories, this would mean that over a year, you would almost lose almost 4 to 5 kilos in 1 year. And why is this? So the researchers call this as the Del-Boeuf illusion, which means that when you have a small plate and the same amount of food, and a large plate and the same amount of food, don't change the amount of food. but the same size circle in a smaller plate appears to be more fulfilling than the same size circle in a larger plate, because you feel, oh, I have not eaten enough. It is because of the context in which that food is placed. So, therefore, the context or the environment is very important. And so, you create and design your context and environment in such a way that you can actually follow the process best. Abhimanyu Thakyal on Instagram says, how to kill fear permanently. Krishna says, Nainam chintanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka na chainam kledayam tapo na shoshiyati maruta. The soul cannot be burned, the soul cannot be killed, the soul is eternal in every situation. So fear fills you with worry about some event which has never ever taken place. Fear can be compared to a stream of very deadly thoughts which appear like a trickle but create a vicious channel. And within this channel, all the other thoughts are drained. And so, as I described a couple of days ago, fear is caused by the gap between expectation and reality. So, as per WHO 2017, 264 million people across the globe have anxiety. And One World in data 2018 say that out of the adults, almost 63%, 179 million were female, and 105 million, almost 37%, were males. And therefore, we have to cope and deal with anxiety at any cost. And the WHO has also published in 2016 very shocking data that the prevalence of mental disorders between 1990 to 2013 has increased by almost 50%, from 416 million to 615 million from 1990 to 2013. So, dear friends, mental disorders is real and we have to deal with it. So, someone asks on Instagram, what if our external world takes over our internal world? Kinjal Sharma asks, why so many people are losing their hope in the world will be better and this time will also pass? And Dr. Chasanal Rathod on Instagram says, how to overcome fear, fear of losing people, fear of abandonment. Please guide. So, in chapter 34 of this book, I have dealt with this. It's called The Power of Obedience and the Human Quality of Submissiveness. And you can deal with it in more detail. And basically, the idea is that fear it can also be seen in a positive way, as Chanakya Pandit explains. It can be a protective shield against dangers and attacking launchpad to win over weaknesses. And what is the cause of fear? As per Srimad Bhagavatam, the cause of fear is misidentification of the soul with the body and the mind. And this misidentification, just like seeing a nightmare, you see a tiger chasing you, tiger is not there, forest is not there, and you are actually not there in the forest but you see it. That misidentification is the main cause. And how do we win over our fear? By using our intelligence and trying to harmonize our mind and intelligence by getting the right identification. And therefore we have to work on this fear by our spiritual process of realizing who I actually am. So in America, it is described that almost 19 million adults experience specific kind of phobias. 15 million adults experience social phobias. So yes, people do experience these kind of phobias and we have to deal with it. So now the question arises, how can spirituality increase productivity? This is a very, very important point, because productivity is a measure of the efficiency of how a person can complete a task. Now, we often assume that productivity means getting more things done each day. No, productivity means getting the important things done consistently. And no matter what you're working on, there are only a few things which are truly important. And therefore, dear friends, you have to understand this as very, very important. Productivity means that you have to create a routine, a timetable for productivity, especially the mornings. Very important, very crucial. How many of you would like to have more control over your mornings? Please share some of your experiences. The WHO report on life expectancy in USA and Japan is, in USA it's 79 years, Japan is 86 years. So assuming, taking a very optimistic side that, okay, if any of you wishes to have a life expectancy of 86 years, assume you are going to live till 86 years, and assume 18 years as the age of adulthood. So if you subtract 86 and subtract 18 from 86, you're left with 68. So that means you have 68 years as an adult, which means that 365 days every year, if you multiply, then you come with almost 25,000 mornings. So 365 multiplied by 68 is almost 25,000. Now, the question is, how will you utilize those 25,000 mornings? Some of the steps. Step one, manage your energy, not your time. Number two, prepare the night before so that you sleep on time. Number three, refrain from opening your email until the most critical activities of the morning are done. Step four, turn your phone off. This is a tough one. Turn your phone off and leave it in another room. Step five, work in a cool place because it should not affect your brain and intelligence, and you should be able to focus. Step six, if you're feeling drowsy or drained or lack of energy, stand up, walk. Step seven, develop a routine. And this routine, which I personally follow, is the sadhana of mantra meditation, chanting of the holy names every day, and a routine process of doing yoga and exercise. And so, this is a very, very important principle on how we can actually control ourselves. First, control your thoughts, control your emotions, control your intentions, and this will help you control your actions. So, many questions are connected with how to get rid of bad habits permanently. And someone is asking this question, Chinmay Savant on Instagram. I'm practicing to detach from lust addiction, and I follow so many things, but I wish to take your guidance. Please help me. And therefore, we should realize that actually pornography is a classic example of allurement. The internet porn industry is worth $13 billion globally. 46% of internet users watch pornography, 72% are men, 28% are women. Now, almost 25% of all the searches on search engines are pornographic related, and 35% of internet downloads are pornographic. You may be shocked to know that almost $3,000 are spent every second on the internet, and 30,000 people are watching pornography every second on the internet. How to get out of the loop? Discrimination and determination. Break the habits before the habits break you. Good habits befriend time, and bad habits belittle time. And it's very, very important. And I'll tell you five reasons why attempts to change habits fail. And it's a fact that almost 81%, of New Year resolutions, they fail. People are unable to keep it up. That means almost 8 times out of 10, you are more likely to fall back into your bad habits, and your behavior change is extremely hard, and there is no doubt about it. Why? First problem, you're trying to change everything at once. Solution, pick one thing at a time and do it well. For example, you can't just be thinking, I will make my change in habit of getting up early also, exercising daily also, becoming more focused on my work also. No, you can't take up so many things. Pick one thing at a time. Second, start with a habit. Second problem is we start with a habit that is too big, right? Many times we think, actually I should do something, I should run 10 kilometers every day. No, as I said yesterday, a spoonful. Start with a behavior, it is so small, it seems easy and reasonable. You want to do exercise, Do two push-ups. You want to, read. Don't say I'll read like a whole book every day. No, read 2 pages. You want to do mantra meditation, chant one round, 108 mantras of the Hare Krishna mantra or any other meditation. Problem number three is we seek a result, not a ritual. Focus on the behavior and not on the outcome. Many times when we have conversations, it's only about what I want to achieve, what are my results which I'm looking at. But we are outcome focused because we want our new behavior, to deliver new results. But the problem is your goals will not deliver your results. Your lifestyle will deliver results. And lifestyle is not an outcome, lifestyle is a process. And therefore, your energy should go in building better rituals. What is ritual? Ritual is a very precise behavior that becomes automatic over time because of being done at a specific time. And then it no longer requires the conscious intention or energy. So, if you want a new habit, you have to fall in love with a new ritual. Problem number four is you want new outcomes without changing your environment. So, what is the solution? Build an environment that promotes good habits. If you want to be healthy, keep away from unhealthy food. Don't store unhealthy food in your refrigerator. If you want to remain positive, try to avoid being surrounded by negative people. If you want to focus on a single task, then keep specific time away from the gadgets. If you want to stay away from, drinking, then stay away from alcohol. But our behaviors are a simple response to the environment. And problem number five, we assume that small changes don't add up. But actually, consistent incremental changes are powerful. Get 1% better every single day. Many people always speak of big things. I want to save 5 lakhs a year. I want to read 15 books a year. I want to lose 20 kg, in a couple of months. But the underlying assumption is that your achievements, need to be big to make a difference. That is what you think. So therefore, we always talk in terms of chasing a big habit. But, dear friends, focus on small choices. Those small choices will result in small behavior change. When that small behavior change happens, repeat the cycle. And then gradually your behavior change will become fixed, then you intensify. Therefore, to respond to this query, which seems to be a consistent query, how to transform our habits, how to focus, how to control the mind, I have created an acronym. As they say, to win, you have to score a goal. So the acronym is SCORE. SCORE stands for S for small. The habit change has to be small. You choose one small habit. You choose a small change, not like a huge change. Second, it has to be consistent. Third, which is C. Third is you choose not multiple things to change, but one thing at a time. So O for one thing, R for ritual, and E for environment. Therefore, if you follow the SCORE formula, habits which can be transformed in the long run need to be small, consistent, one thing at a time. You have to focus on developing rituals and the right environment. If you follow the SCORE formula, I'm sure all of you will experience tremendous transformation and the joy of feeling in control of one's own lives and schedules. Thank you very much for joining us again this evening. I'm so delighted that all of you are giving such tremendous response. This entire interaction is just so that many of you get to know more and more about how you can make your own mental muscles stronger, understand the art of resilience from our timeless ancient scriptures. And for those of you who are trying to log into Amazon in some big cities where currently the link is not active, please know that you can go to www.tulsibooks.com, www.tulsibooks.com, and order there. And in big cities, especially Mumbai and Delhi, currently the links are not active because of the current lockdown situation. And please do go there and you can get a copy of this Art of Resilience book. Thanks to also Penguin Publishers and the team who have been so supportive, and hope that all of you experience great joy in your journey of self transformation. Thank you all very much. Please join us for the evening kirtans and arti of Girirajji and Yamunaji. Hare Krishna.
गिरिराज धरन प्रभु तुम्हारी शरण, ओ प्रभु तुम्हारी शरण, श्री जी तुम्हारी शरण, वो तुम्हारी गिरिराज धरन प्रभु तुम्हारी शरण, ओ गिरिराज धरण प्रभु तुम्हारी शरण, हो जय गिरि गोवर्धन, गिरि गोवर्धन, गिरि गोवर्धन, जय गिरि गोवर्धन। प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद। निताय गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, निताय गौर हरि बोल। बोलो निताय गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल। निताय गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, निताय गौर हरि बोल। श्री गिरिराज धरन की। कृपया हाथ जोड़िए और मेरे पीछे दोहराइए। नमस्ते गिरिराजाय, श्री गोवर्धन नामिने, अशेष क्लेशनाशाय, परमानंददायिने। श्री गिरिराज धरण की जय जय। राधा रमन गिरिधारी, गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी। जय जय राधा रमन गिरिधारी, गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी। जय जय राधा रमन गिरिधारी, गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी। हो गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी, गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी। नंद नंदन मुकुंद मुरारी। जय जय राधा रमन गिरिधारी, गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी। जय जय राधा रमन गिरिधारी, गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी। जय जय राधा गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी, गिरिधारी नंद नंदन मुकुंद मुरारी। जय जय राधा रमन गिरिधारी, गिरधारी श्यामवारी। गोपाल 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 गोपाल। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा 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 हरे हरे। जय जय राधा रमन गिरिधारी, गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी। ओ गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी, हो नंद नंदन मुकुंद मुरारी। जय जय राधा रमन गिरिधारी, गिरिधारी श्याम बनवारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। जय गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन गिरि गोवर्धन, जय गिरि गोवर्धन। प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय प्रभुपाद। ओ बोलो निताई गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। श्री गिरिराज धरन की कृपया हाथ जोड़िए। नमस्ते गिरिराजाय श्री गोवर्धन नामिने, अशेषक्लेशनाशाय परमानंददायिने श्री गिरिराज धरण की श्री कृष्ण भगवान की चिदानंद भानो सदानंद सुनो परप्रेम पात्रे द्रव ब्रह्म गात्री गोपी जन वृंद सुनो परप्रेम पात्रे द्रव ब्रह्म गात्री अघानां लवित्रे जगत्क्षेमदात्रे पवित्रे क्रियान्नो वपुर्मित्रपुत्री श्री जमुना देवी की जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरि जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव मुरली मनोहर करुणा सागर मुरली मनोहर मुरली मनोहर करुणा सागर मुरली मनोहर मुरली मनोहर करुणा सागर मुरली मनोहर जय गोवर्धन धारी जय गोवर्धन जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन जामुनतीरावनचारी जामुनतीरावनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय कुंज जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय यमुना देवी जय यमुना देवी जय वृंदावन धाम, वृंदावन धाम, वृंदावन धाम, जय वृंदावन धाम। हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल। ओ बोलो निताई गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, गौर हरि बोल, निताई गौर। श्री जमुना देवी की, श्री वृंदावन धाम की, शुल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय श्री राधे श्याम। श्री जमुना देवी की।